Call to order the Transportation Policy Committee for Thursday, July 26th. Welcome everybody here today. My name is Kevin Beatty. I'm the Vice Chair. And, without any other items, we will go around the room and do introductions. So start with our esteemed short timer, our current Executive Director.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Some of you may know, I've spoken to a couple of you, Tuesday is my last day at KIPTA. And I want to take time here this morning or this afternoon to thank every one of you here. The wheels of progress never stop, and you all have made sure of that with our staff here under Larry Cheney and the great staff that we have. Your part on this TPC council and membership and attendance has been great. Some of you I've got to work with on other projects. Mr. Jim Moody over here, we were hand in hand on the Milton-Madison Bridge while the Bridges project here in Louisville was getting off the ground. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I told my finance director last week that if had I been able to choose my stepping off place to end my career, I couldn't have done any better than right here. So you all are making a difference in the lives of people, and I trust that you'll continue to do that, and I wish you the very best. God bless each one of you and your families and everything that you do. I wish you every success and enjoyment in life. So thank you.
Maybe some in the room that are not aware of who our next director is, so would you like to do those honors as well?
And my apologies for that, because I got up to introduce him rather than saying everything I did. But Mr. Jarrett Haley has been selected by our board of directors to be the incoming director effective Wednesday, or actually it'll be when I check out Tuesday afternoon. It'll be in his hands. He's a great young man, and he works with people well. Has gone through a lot of tight times with budget and shortage of staff. But he and Danielle and Justin have made it right on track and, not missed a step. So Jarrett will be a good person for you all to work with, and I encourage you to get to know him better. And all the success that we've enjoyed past years will continue from here forward. So, Jarrett Hayes.
I'm looking forward to working with you all. I'll be the first to admit I have some tremendous shoes to fill, but I'm fortunate to have such a great group of board members, committee members, and then staff. So please give me a call if I could ever be of assistance.
I'm Tom Hall with KYTC District 5 office.
Thomas Wick, KYTC Planning.
Kevin Nuss, Oldham County. Keith Griffey, Bullitt County.
John Callahan, Louisville Metro.
Bernie Bowling, City of St. Matthews.
Ida Colby, Dot.
Back here, please.
Oh, Gretchen Milliken, Louisville Metro.
Maridel Loisel, KYTC Planning.
Megan Bennett, AECOM.
Bobby Campbell, Jacoby Jones, Lands Engineering.
Brad Johnson,
I'm Sean Dax with HDR.
Randy Savin, Kipton Staff.
Ricky Bowles with Tri-Mark.
Dirk Cohen, Louisville Metro.
Brian Dixon, Clark County.
Andy Crouch, City of Jeffersonville.
Matt Meunier, City of Jeffersontown.
Jim Udi, NDOT.
Adam Forsyth, Kipton.
Andy Rush, Kipton. Nick Bale, Kipton. David Burton.
Elizabeth Parker with Kipta. Danielle Story, Kipta. Amanda Deckridge with Kipta. Sarah Bayer, Kipta.
Larry Cheney, Kipton.
All right. Does everybody pick up a packet on the way in, or hopefully you have your electronic version that came out earlier in the week? Has everybody had time enough to review the minutes? And if so, I would entertain a motion, please.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the May 24th TPC meeting minutes. Any comments, questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Is there anybody from the public who would like to speak at this time? All right, hearing none. Public meeting report. Larry?
Yes. Ashley is out today, so she will not be doing the report until August. We're looking forward to the August meeting. Hopefully all of you can be there. We'll talk a little bit about why later. But we're going to postpone the public meeting report till the August
Move on along, then we have a congestion management process report. Danielle and Amanda.
Yes, thank you. I'm Amanda Dethridge with TPC. Danielle. We'll wait for the monitor to warm up for our presentation for you today. We will present on the congestion management process. There it is. Okay, congestion management process. So what is a congestion management process, or a CMP? Well, it is a federally required document that must be integrated into our metropolitan transportation planning process. It is not intended to be a standalone plan. It is very much incorporated with our MTP and our Connecting Kentuckiana MTP update we will do next year. TPC has a current CMP, but it only has 5 steps, and current federal regulation says that it has to have 8 steps. So that's why we've updated the CMP this year, is to bring it into compliance with those 8-step requirements. It is a systematic alternative assessment of congestion that will help the MPO to identify congestion problem locations, develop alternative strategies to mitigate congestion, preferably without adding capacity to the roadway, and it will measure the progress of those implemented strategies in reducing congestion. This CMP document is a tool for you, our project sponsors, not only to comply with federal requirements, but for you to check whenever you are developing projects that are in congested areas. Maybe you can utilize some of the strategies that are listed in this document.
The 8 steps of the CMP include developing regional objectives, defining a CMP network, developing multimodal performance measures, collecting data to monitor system performance, analyzing congestion problems and needs, identifying and assessing strategies, programming and implementing those strategies, and then evaluating strategy effectiveness. Step 1, developing the regional objectives. We've talked a lot about goals and objectives and performance measures recently, and the goals and objectives of the CMP are those in the MTP that are applicable to congestion management. We have incorporated the MTP goals to maintain consistency with our planning efforts in the MPO, and many of the goals identified in this document are multimodal goals, which connects to the alternative strategies that are recommended in the CMP.
All right, step 2 is to define the CMP network. TPC has elected to define the CMP network based on the following criteria: all interstates, all freeways and expressways, all principal arterials, minor arterials that have an interchange with an interstate that are north of I-265 and north of I-64 in southern Indiana, roads that are on the NHS, and any other roadway segments that would fill an obvious gap in this network. This network provides a manageable framework for developing a snapshot of congestion in the region. So we're only in the CMP only going to analyze congestion on these roads here in purple. Collecting and analyzing data in a consistent manner and evaluating our implementation strategies at corridor and regional levels. Okay, sorry. This is the same thing with develop multimodal performance measures. It's the same thing as our goals. We took the performance measures from our performance management plan that are applicable to congestion and put those into the CMP as well to provide consistency between all of our documents. And these are all of those congestion-related performance measures.
Step 4, collecting data to monitor the system performance. In the CMP, we have all the data and sources needed to analyze congestion, to identify potential areas of improvement, or to identify possible mitigation strategies. Most of this data has been used in other planning documents at TPC, and the most recent point of data on here are the van pool routes. We worked with TPC to identify the routes that van pools typically take in the region. The majority of this data will also be available on the TPC Online Resource Center, and project sponsors are encouraged to utilize this data during project development.
Step 5 is to analyze congestion problems and needs. Well, in order to do that, we first looked at congestion in the region that we classified as level of service D, E, or F. You can see on this map, this is a map of just the non-interstate CMP network, congestion on the non-interstate CMP network. The yellow lines are level of service D, the orange lines are level of service E, and the red lines are level of service F. So this was a good start looking at congestion in this way, but we thought we could tell a different story if we looked at a bigger area. So we came up with these TAD congestion areas. So we've used transportation analysis districts, TADs, in other aspects of our planning processes. We've graded TADs before on different issues, and so we thought grading each TAD by its congestion could help us see what was going on in the region. And so you'll see here the lightest orange, it almost looks white on that screen, has less than 25% congestion. What that means, how we calculated that, is we calculated all the number of roads in the TAD, the percentage of miles. Then we calculated the percentage of miles that were at level of service D, E, and F. And then we got a percentage. So less than 25% of those roads at D, E, and F in each TAD, we consider slight congestion. The medium orange there is between 25 and 50% of those roads are at level of service D, E, and F. So we call that moderate congestion. And then the darkest orange there, it's a little hard to see on the screen, and the document I think it shows up a little darker, is more than 50% congestion. We call that significant congestion. That means more than 50% of roads in that TAD are level of service D, E, or F. Forgot I had this on here, I'm sorry.
Step 6, identifying and assessing strategies. The strategies selected are in alignment with the goals and objectives, and they offer recommended solutions to effectively managing congestion. Those strategies include increasing our bike and pedestrian infrastructure. Sarah is currently working on a bike ped resource guide that should be available to you before next month's TPC meeting. We would like to improve accessibility to transit, increase the number of park and ride lots and usage of those park and ride lots, increase commuters utilizing ride share, see an increase in ITS architecture in our projects. Again, you can refer to KIPTA's ITS architecture plan. And then we have our Transportation Systems Management and Operations Strategies, or TSMO, and Elizabeth will be presenting and offering you more information on that. We'll have a resource guide for you available shortly as well. And then when all those other strategies have been considered and deemed not appropriate to tackle congestion, then we, of course, have roadway capacity adding projects as well.
Step 7 is to program and implement those strategies. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Just excited today. Just congestion.
Yeah, so project sponsors are highly encouraged to use the CMP as a resource document during project development, especially when mitigating congestion within your jurisdiction. Projects that implement strategies that are listed in the CMP will be recognized during the project development process of the NTP. The sponsor will be responsible for identifying CMP strategies that may be utilized in their initial project proposal. KIPTA will then review your proposed projects submitted for inclusion in the Connecting Kentuckiana MTP. And a component of that project evaluation is going to focus on commitments a proposed project may provide towards managing congestion on or within a half mile of the CMP network. We recognize that relieving congestion on the CMP network is not limited to strategies solely on the network itself, but also to nearby facilities that may contribute to improving congestion on the network.
All right. Lastly, due to recent changes in air quality conformity rules, proposed projects that add capacity to the CMP network must conduct a travel demand reduction strategies analysis. That's something we've developed so we can open up the line of communication between KIPTA staff and the project sponsor to make sure that we're using roadway capacity adding projects as a last resort. We really want to see if we can mitigate congestion without affecting air quality. So again, that's projects that add capacity and result in a significant increase in SOV capacity have to do that analysis just to talk to us to make sure that we've made sure we've looked at all the strategies before we've gone to widen the roadway.
And then step 8, evaluating strategy effectiveness. KIPTA staff will continue to update the inventory of all of our alternative mode infrastructure, and that includes bike ped, transit routes, vehicle routes, etc. We will analyze what has been implemented since the last CMP update, including what projects have been built on the CMP network and their possible impact on congestion in the region. The CMP will also be reviewed and assessed every 4 years with the MTV update. And as updates to the high congestion analysis occur, there will also be a review of the CMP and the network itself.
All right. So before we get to our action that we were requesting today, in response to a few questions that we had at TTCC, we have made a few changes, minor changes to the draft document that was posted online for your review. We did clarify the CMP network criteria, making sure that we said minor arterials north of I-64 in southern Indiana instead of outside. We did make that change. And we're also adding a second map in the document to identify congestion on the interstates that shows level of service D, E, and F, and the top 10% of those congested segments. We had left out interstates before, and we wanted to make sure that we showed non-interstate congestion and interstate congestion in the document. As you can see, TTCC action, they did recommend approval of the draft CMP for you guys to consider today, so that is the action we need, is to approve the draft CMP. Are there any questions?
Hearing no questions, do I have a motion to approve the congestion management process? Thank you. I've lost my track on the agenda here.
So moved.
I have a motion. I have a second.
Second.
All right. Any further questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is a participation plan review.
That, once again, will be postponed until August, and Ash will return. She's gone through a fairly extensive review of our participation plan and the results of some of our outreach. She'll have mapping of all of our locations and a lot of other things that may be of interest to you. In August.
Okay. Item 7, connecting Kentuckiana planning assumptions. Andy.
Sir. All right, I don't have a presentation, but it should be pretty brief. As several of you all know, KIPTA has been redesignated as a non-attainment area. Non-attainment to the 2015 ozone standard. So, as Michelle King from APCD pointed out last time, it's not because air quality in this area is getting worse, it's because the standards are getting tighter. So nonetheless, the KIPTA region is about to be, I think as early as, I think it's next week, August 3rd if I'm not mistaken. KIPTA will now be a non-attainment area once again. It's fine, don't worry. We've done it before, we'll do it again. So what that means, we have to do our air quality conformity analyses, once again, with every amendment, with every update of our long-range plan. Okay, so that's where KIPTA works in partnership with all the agencies, certainly, but in particular, Global Metro APCD, to do some air quality modeling analysis that represents the emissions model, emissions from region-wide from transportation. One of the requirements in the air quality conformity rule is that an MPO have and document their planning assumptions, and so that's what we've done recently. And you find a copy of the planning assumptions in your meeting packet. So these planning assumptions, they cover a few general areas. Most of them are related to our travel demand model. Some of them are related to the socioeconomic data that we recently collected from each of the counties and jurisdictions around this region. Some of them are related directly to the modeling, how the model operates. A few in there that are just maybe general planning assumptions. We also have some assumptions in there about tolling. The Ohio River Bridge is tolling. We've included those in our model for the first time recently, and for the first time in our planning assumptions as well. There's a couple other assumptions in there as well. Some of the things that we've updated, just to point out a few things that we've updated from the prior version of this to the current version of this, include some of the sources maybe for the data. So, for instance, the last version of this had the 2000 census as a source. Now we've got 2020 census as a source. We've gotten rid of some of the ones that are not pertinent anymore, and then we've added some of the ones like the tolling ones that I've mentioned earlier. I think that's about all I have. They are required to be reviewed by KIPTA's IAC Interagency Consultation Group that happened earlier this month, and then also the TPCC approved them earlier this month as well. So I'd be happy to answer any questions about planning assumptions. We can go into depth about any of them if we need to. But if not, I'd like to ask for a motion to approve these planning assumptions.
All right, do I have a motion to accept the planning assumptions? I have a motion, do I hear a second?
Second.
Are there any further questions? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item number 8 is the Environmental Justice Resource Document. Sarah.
Yep, just give me a second to get the screen going. Perfect. Okay, so I'm Sarah, and if you all remember back in April, I gave presentations on our updated environmental justice study areas. And since then, an environmental justice resource document has been created that goes into a little more depth of our methods and the results, and provides a bunch of different sections on everything involving environmental justice here at KIPTA. So I'll get right to it. So if anyone forgot what is environmental justice, it is the fair treatment and meaningful involvement of all people regardless of their race or income, and that no one should have any disproportionate share of any environmental impacts. So just to review, I'm going to go over the maps that were a result of the analysis back in April. So here is the minority environmental justice study areas. Here are the low-income environmental justice study areas. And here is the total environmental justice study area, which is the combination of low-income and minority study areas together. So now we're going to go into some of the sections from the document. The next 3 or 4 slides will be sections from the document that we felt needed to be highlighted today, and we'll first start with benefits and burdens. So benefits are any positive impact from a transportation project. That could be enhancements such as streetscaping or updated facilities, increased safety such as street lighting, high visibility crosswalks, better visual signage, and anything that can help the pedestrian or cyclist or anybody using an alternative mode of transportation feel a little bit more safe. Congestion relief and boosted economies. And a burden is a negative impact, so anything that can cause pollution, noise or air, disrupted or displaced communities, homes, businesses, decreased economies, declines in employment, decline in aesthetics, and any delay of any of the positive benefits on the other side of the screen. So next is a section about mitigation and alternatives, and KIPTA has 2 different techniques for ways to mitigate some negative project impacts. So first I'm going to say that part of the environmental justice executive order is to identify, address, minimize or mitigate and avoid disproportionately higher adverse human or environmental effects such as social or economical effects. So the first technique KIPTA has developed is fix it first. So just maintaining and upgrading existing infrastructures and facilities and just ensuring that there's continued availability through these structures. The next potential mitigation technique is connectivity, just ensuring that there are cohesive links between the existing transportation network. So bicycle and pedestrian mitigation techniques could be bump outs, improved crosswalks, better signals, buffers, safety islands, and more designated facilities. And some transit mitigation techniques could be improved access by extended schedules and greater connectivity and fluidity between stops. Another section from the document we wanted to highlight today is environmental justice resources. In the document, it goes into how environmental justice is connected to all of these other resources that KIPTA has available. So first, as we just heard from Danielle and Amanda, the Congestion Management Plan, the CMP, it exists as a way to talk about ways to decrease congestion and increase mobility and safety. And that's important for environmental justice study areas because we know that congestion is a burden in those areas. So having a document in place that goes over techniques on how to reduce that is really important. Next, the Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality Program, CMAQ, we know is there for surface street projects to help mitigate congestion and better the air quality, which is also extremely important when it comes to environmental justice study areas because congestion and poor air quality are also burdens in those areas. So using CMAQ funds in those areas that can help increase the air quality and reduce congestion is a huge benefit for people in those areas. And then our Transportation Improvement Program, the TIP, projects in environmental justice study areas are given not better consideration, but are further considered in the planning process. In the Metropolitan Transportation Plan, our MTP, there are multiple opportunities for people living in environmental justice study areas to be part of our planning process and to suggest ways to, lessen these negative impacts in their areas. And then our participation plan, if you all have read through that, it provides really good communication techniques to achieve the most effective communication between KIPTA and people living in the environmental justice study areas. So, in final review, the environmental justice study areas are available to see at KIPTA's online resource center. The document will officially be posted on our website soon, and the document will continue to be updated as the environmental justice study areas are. And that is what I've got. No action requested or anything, but if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Any questions for Sarah, please? Thank you very much.
Yep.
Item 9 on the agenda, Transportation Systems Management and Operations. Elizabeth.
Hello, I'm Elizabeth, and I'm here today to just give you some information about a resource guide that we've been developing on Transportation Systems Management and Operation, or TSMO, or TSMO, however you want to say it. So this resource guide is going to help you all in project development coming up soon, and just be a general source of information as you all go forward to projects in your own agencies as well. So what is TSMO? There's a lot of different definitions, but the one that I found to include in the resource guide is from FHWA, and it says that TSMO is multimodal transportation strategies to maximize the efficiency, safety, and utility of existing and planned transportation infrastructure. So there's a wide range of strategies that are covered in TSMO. It's kind of an umbrella term. But some of them might include technology for driver information, like message boards, incident management, traffic signal management, and transportation demand management. They all fall under TSMO. All these strategies relate to almost all of our KIPTA planning areas, like the CMP that Danielle and Amanda talked about, ITS, and bike ped planning, just to name a few. And TSMO principles also strongly correlate to our Connecting Kentuckiana mission statement, particularly the focus on new and innovative approaches to improve the transportation system in a cost-effective and efficient manner, and the focus on the more efficient use of the existing transportation network. There's no federal requirement that we have any TSMO program or document, but this resource guide fills a gap that we've identified in our overall planning process, so that's why we're doing it. So there's going to be two parts to this guide, and the first one focuses on transportation demand management, which is generally reducing demand for vehicular travel while developing multimodal mobility options. And this connects to TSMO because if you're doing transportation demand strategies, you're going to lessen the burden on the transportation network by facilitating mode switch and also redistributing trips across the day. So in the guide, it's going to be focusing more on design strategies. So it's going to be a very visual document that's just going to provide some ways that other agencies have, and federal level agencies have identified that TSMO can be implemented. So I'm compiling all these strategies just to, so you all don't have to, kind of. So I've been looking at FHWA and NACTO, so these design strategies are out there already. The topics in the TDM section are going to include building bike and ped networks to encourage use of those networks on shorter trips particularly. Transit infrastructure that will allow buses to move efficiently through traffic, and also to encourage people to ride the bus by making it more comfortable and convenient for passengers. Rideshare is also included, van pool, like our Ticket to Ride program. Parking management, particularly like priority parking for carpool, van pool, those kind of strategies. And also looking at redistributing trips through flexible work hours and work from home options, although not directly transportation cleaning related, those options that employers need to affect the transportation network. And finally, aligning land use with the transportation network, focusing on capacity issues and needs as land use develops. And the next steps, there's going to be a second section focusing on traffic management operations, more focused on roadway strategies. And the guide will also be connected to the existing ITS architecture document done in May of 2017. And I'm aiming for this guide to be available in the fall as a final draft presented to you all for approval and gathering your feedback. And this will be in time to help with project development as well for the MTP. Finally, it will be placed on the website when it's all done. So are there any questions?
I see no action is requested, so is there any questions for Elizabeth? Did I hear mentioned earlier that this will include a bike transportation guide as well?
Well, this includes some bike ped strategies, but there's working on a bike ped document. Sarah's working on it, so they're kind of going to cross-reference each other. Yeah, bike ped is included.
I've got a question. You mentioned land use, and I guess it sounded like you were mentioning the need to coordinate transportation improvements with land use. Do you also look at the idea of changing the land use patterns to promote shorter trips?
Yes.
So basically a demand reduction strategy?
Yeah, so it's in the TDM section. What I've found right now is, people have heard of TODs, the transportation-oriented development. Kind of building on that is really the strategy that I've identified and have the document. But if you have any other sources that I might look at, I would love for you to send them my way and I can incorporate them.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
And that being said, we as a metropolitan planning organization cannot dictate land use.
Right.
We can make suggestions all day long.
Right.
And we will. But we cannot control that. It's the choice of the local governments to make those decisions. We can just point you in the direction that would benefit you.
I think some of the other improvements, like the transit improvements with the signals, that's another thing that the MPO won't really have any control over. But I guess KYTC would have to be willing to implement those, or Louisville Metro, I guess, depending on the facility.
Well,
It's
some of
something-
that's going on already with the Dixie Highway projects,
Right.
things like that. So it's something that we certainly support. I mean, as part of our ITS architecture includes that technology and the obvious benefit to the community. It's something that we want to point out with all of these things that they are strategies that are available to you to use, and we are certainly open to funding any of those things if you bring those to us as projects.
Any other questions?
Thank you. All right, moving on, item 10 on the agenda is fiscal year 2018 through 2021, the TIP improvement program. I'm assuming we have some modifications or amendments.
That is right. Today I'm presenting for information only, no action requested. Administrative modifications 15, 16, and 17. This is probably the largest group of administrative modifications that I've done since I've been here, since I've been doing the TIP last year in September. And that's a result of the new 6-year highway plan that was passed by the Kentucky State Legislature and implemented by KYTC. So there's a universe of projects that we needed to modify in our TIP, Efficient Improvement Program. And I would say 90% of what's in these 25 pages of projects are derived from that new 6-year highway plan. Projects that are relatively minor in terms of the scope of what they're doing, or pavement rehab and bridge rehab projects, those were able to go through this administrative modification process, which is much more streamlined. It only takes a month or so to get these into our TIP so that projects can move forward with authorization. There's another group of projects that came out of the 6-year highway plan that are going to be a part of 2 TIP MTP amendments that we have going on, one of which is ongoing, and we have another one for non-exempt projects, which means they may impact air quality, and that'll be in a couple more months. So the projects that are included in these administrative modifications are primarily bridge rehab, pavement rehab. There are streetscape and sidewalk projects, such as East Market Nulu was funded through the 6-year highway plan. So that project was, those funds were added to that project. There's other sidewalk projects that I think U of L is doing as part of the CAP program. We had to make some modifications there. But the majority are, as you look through them, kind of bridge and pavement rehabs. Answer any questions about specific projects if you'd like. Otherwise, these changes will be made onto our website, and those projects can then move forward with funding authorization and getting those phases going. Any questions on or comments on administrative modifications?
Just one thing. Just looking through these. In some cases, I'm not clear what county it's in. It might be helpful to have that in the future.
That's a good point. I think that kind of came up the other day at a TIP meeting. We had a public meeting on Tuesday for our first amendment, and we were out in Hillview, and those folks wanted to know, all about Bullitt County projects. And so that is something that we can definitely start adding to this list. It will be very helpful, I think. Thanks, John.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
Any other questions for Nick?
If not, just know that the public review period for our current exempt amendment is still ongoing for another week or so. That's out on our website. It should have been emailed to you as well. And then we'll have another go in probably 2 months for non-exempt amendments. So, I'll be bringing some of that to you guys next month at TTCC and TPC. Thanks.
Thank you, Nick. All right, other business. I'm aware that we have 2 items under other business, and I'll defer to Larry.
Yes, the first is to do with our plan that we're developing. Elizabeth, would you?
Yeah, I just want to give you all a quick update about our freight plan. We have 2 upcoming meetings, one of which you all are invited to on August 8th. It will be immediately after TTCC, so just stick around for that, and we'll be going over the freight profile and existing conditions. Each year will be doing that. And they'll also be letting you know about the meeting that happened the previous day, where we're going to be talking to some private sector stakeholders and getting their input, much like what your all's first meeting was for the study group a couple weeks ago. So they will have that information for you as well.
And the other item of business is every 4 years we are reviewed by the Federal Highway Administration and the Federal Transit Administration as far as our metropolitan planning practices are concerned. It's called Federal Certification Review. Many of you were part of that last go around, 2014. Well, here we are again. Seems like yesterday. It's going to be on August 22nd and 23rd. It's going to start with a tour. Many of you are welcome to go on that tour. We'll be leaving here somewhere around 8:30 probably, about 3 hours. Take the review team around the community and show them different things. A lot of things have happened since 2014. We have some bridges in place that were not there at the time. The last tour, we went up to the bridge. We had to go downtown, go out to 62, and come back the other end of the bridge. Now we get to cross it. So the morning will be the tour. The afternoon, they'll come to this room, and we'll have the start of the review, which is basically they're going to ask a lot of questions. If any of you want to be there as project sponsors, that's fine. As planning partners, that's fine as well. But they will ask questions about everything that we do. The MTP, the TIP, the congestion management process, the freight plan, everything that we do for transportation planning in the urbanized area. As well as FTA. And at the same time, FTA is having their triennial review on those same 2 days. So it's going to be interesting for TARP to participate in both. The evening of the 22nd, there will be a public listening session. That public listening session, thanks to St. Matthews, will be at the St. Matthews Community Center at 6 o'clock. That lasts for about an hour. So at that meeting, the public has the opportunity to come and share with the review team what they think of the MPO. And this is not just a review of KIPTA staff. This is a review of the Metropolitan Planning Organization, which is the TPC. So feel free to participate as much as you like. We take care of it on our own, mostly, but if we have project sponsors there, it goes a long way for demonstrating cooperation to the federal partners. On the 23rd, we'll be back in this room. We have the opportunity to showcase the things that we do in our community and to answer some of the unanswered questions that were remaining from the afternoon before. And then the review team will be attending the TPC meeting on the 23rd. Hopefully they'll be in a position to provide us with preliminary findings at that meeting. If not, they may just be here as spectators. That's one of the reasons why I postponed the participation plan review until the 23rd, because I'd like them to see a better idea of what we do here and how we conduct our outreach. But you're all invited. As soon as we get a definite agenda from them, we'll send it out to everyone with times and subjects and locations. That's all I have.
Okay. Is there any other business to come before the committee? Short and sweet. All right. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
When everybody raise their hand at once. All right, got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, we will consider the meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.